I'm really excited to be sharing my testimony with all you beautiful ladies. But first, I just want to tell you, you're so blessed to be there with Lisa. Her and Justin are two of my favorite people in the world. They're awesome. They're the best. Love you guys. Anyway, so a lot of people have these really crazy, miraculous stories about before they knew Christ, and I don't really have one of those because God's blessed me so much all throughout my life. And so I'm going to be mostly focusing on my life with Christ, which really is the best part, in my opinion, because it's with Christ. And Jesus tells us that there's rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God when just one sinner repents, because that's why he died, for each and every individual person. So if I just told you, I've been saved from the bondage of my sin by the grace of my God through faith in his son Jesus, that would be a beautiful testimony in and of itself. But I'm going to add some more personal detail. So I'm Sarah. I'm 15. I'm the youngest of 6 kids, and we all grew up going to church. And when I was 4, I remember giving my life to Jesus for the first time, but I didn't really know what it meant because I was 4. So, and when I was still pretty young, we kind of just slowly stopped going to church. And my dad would still give us Bible studies, but he would always talk about this really deep stuff. And I was so young, I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't even really know what it meant to be a Christian. And so as I got a little older, I would call myself a Christian because all my family were Christians, but I really didn't know what it meant. And I started hanging out with these people that weren't Christians, and just in the way that we would act and the conversations we would have, I knew it wasn't honoring to God. I knew that. But just as I was hanging out with these people, I started more and more to become like them. And I grew apart from my family. I grew apart from God. And I never had a really devastating moment in my life. And I never got into like really bad stuff. I never hit rock bottom. But there was a short time in my life when I just wasn't happy. I wasn't close to God and I wasn't close to my family. So, but in the summer of 2015, I was invited to this leadership camp, and it was the best experience because we were learning how to teach little kids the gospel, and it was just so different for me because I had been hanging out with these people that weren't Christians and that were actually pretty against Christians. And then for a solid week I was at this camp, and we were just fellowshipping and doing personal devotions and studying the Bible and worshiping, and it was amazing. And so that was the time in my life when I just decided, I told my mom, I want to start going back to church, because none of my family really went to church. We all knew God, we just didn't go to church. And I was like, I want to go to church. And I want to stop hanging out with all those people that are being a bad influence in my life. And that was tough for me. But really, it wasn't even that hard because God gave me so much strength in dropping those friends. And that same summer, I went to the Calvary Chapel summer camp with Justin and Lisa. And for the first time in my life, when I prayed and when I worshiped, I actually felt like I was connecting with God, like he was actually there. I always knew he was there, but I always just felt like I was talking or I was just singing. But then that summer, I actually felt like I was really connecting with God, like he was really there and I was actually talking to him. And it was amazing. And so when Justin asked if anybody knew God but wanted to rededicate their life to him, that was the moment that I made the decision to follow hard after God and just to just turn my life around. And it was the best decision of my life because my life got way better. And like I said, I didn't even go through anything super tough. Like, I never had a really hard life. But even though I had it pretty good, it was infinitely better when I decided to follow Jesus. And not only that, but I got like way 100 times closer to my family, and I was able to build really healthy relationships with some Christian friends and, stop hanging out with those bad influence friends. And so I used to think, my testimony wasn't that great because I never got into really bad stuff or had this really devastating moment that brought me to God. I just, I did stray for a little bit, but then I was just realizing God's just been showing me lately that, that's miraculous and amazing too. It's miraculous when He pulls people out of really tough times. But it's just as miraculous that He stopped me from even going into those really tough times. Through my mom and through Calvary Chapel and through a few other things, He stopped me from going down a really bad path. And ever since then, I've just realized how much He loves me. I've been so blessed all throughout my life. Never really gone through that much hard stuff. And I just didn't appreciate it, And my family is the best. I'm not trying to brag, and I know that we're not perfect. But of all the people I know, from what I've heard, I have the most solid, most loving, and most God-loving family of anybody that I know. And it's such a blessing, and I didn't really fully appreciate that until recently. And so I just want to encourage you, if you don't know God, if you haven't received Christ, do it. It's the best decision that you can make. Whether your life is going pretty good right now, or whether you're going through something really hard. If you just change your mind, change your heart, and change your direction to God, your life will just be infinitely better, whether it was good before or not. And if you have received Christ, I just want to encourage you to share your testimony, because this is actually the first time that I've really shared my testimony in detail with a bunch of people. I don't actually know how many of you there are, but anyway, because I always just thought it was kind of boring. But there's a party going on up in heaven, angels are rejoicing, so obviously it's not boring. It's a miracle every single time, because every single time somebody gets saved, they're breaking the bondage of their sin through God's grace. And it's amazing every time. And every one is unique. And so even if your journey was long and hard or short and easy, it's an amazing, encouraging testimony, and it can encourage so many people. And so just go out. I want to encourage you to just go out and share what God has done for you in your life. John 13:15 says, "For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you." Jesus said that to His disciples. And so I just want to encourage you not only to share what God's done for you, but be an example of God's love. If you know Justin, I'm just going to assume you know Justin. You've probably heard a bunch of times, love God and love people. It's as simple as that, because some people, they don't even know God. And so when you call yourself a Christian, they see you and that's their example of God. So just be an example, love God and love people, and just share what He's done for you, because that's the best way you can bless people. And so that's about it. That's all I got for you. Keep being awesome and just go spread the good news. Bye.